One thing that a lot of folks don't understand when they become preppers is that buying certain preparedness or survival related items could actually kind of put a target on their backs. Making certain purchases could either put you on some sort of list or make you look like you're trying to break the law, even if you're not. Then, on top of that, some prepper items are actually illegal in some places. So, today we're going to talk about 11 prepper items that the government would really rather that you didn't have. First off, we have lockpick sets, and like so many other things on this list, there are plenty of legal, non-harmful reasons that you might want to have these. First off, maybe you lost a key to something or you just forgot your key. Having a lockpick set can allow you to get access to things that you are authorized to get to in a much less destructive and time-consuming way. And then also lockpicking is a legitimate hobby called lock sport. But at the same time, there are plenty of illegal uses for lockpick sets too. So if you have them, you want to be careful where you carry them, like keeping them in like your EDC bag or even your car could end up getting you into trouble if for some reason your bag or your vehicle ends up getting searched. And the same sort of goes for things like bolt cutters too. While there are plenty of legitimate reasons to have those, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where maybe you come under additional scrutiny from law enforcement and it ends up biting you in the butt. Next up, we have the Flipper Zero, and Magic Prepper talked about this on his channel a while back. But basically, it's just a small gadget that can interact with different kinds of tech. So, some reasons that normal, non-criminal folks like us may want to have it is that it can be used as backup access for things like your apartment key fob, also like your garage door or other doors that require remote access. You can also use it to test security vulnerabilities for your different kinds of technology. And also, I mean, kind of as a boring thing, just use it as a universal remote for things like your TV, air conditioner, and other appliances. But probably one really good preparedness related use for it would be to map your RF environment. And that basically is just trying to figure out what signals are floating around in your house. Is there anything that doesn't belong in there or maybe signals a little bit stronger than what you want? Now, one of the big reasons why like governments and stuff may not want people to have one of these, first off, is car theft. So many vehicles, including things like my truck nowadays, they use push button ignition, and the key fobs that those work with, they do give off RF signals. And then also there's just different types of hacking. Although after I researched this little device, it doesn't seem like the hacking fears are quite as extreme as what some people make it out to be. But like with so many things, if somebody wanted to do harm with it, they could probably figure it out. Next up, we have body armor and gas mask. And I think those two things, they're sort of seen by people as an extreme prep. Like maybe they don't think that they have too many uses for them. But I mean, with body armor, if you're in an area that's experiencing high crime, lots of unrest, or even if it's just a burglar and you have enough time to get that on, it could be very useful. My backpack there behind me, it actually has a level 3A ballistic panel in it, so that if I'm out and about, some little loser goes nuts with a handgun, I mean, I'll at least have that to put in front of me. Then in the case of gas masks, aside from, the world-ending nuclear apocalypse, chemical weapons kind of crap, there's also the chance of industrial accidents. Like near where I live, there was an ammonia leak at an industrial plant, and they ended up having to evacuate a small chunk of the city away from that. And if you find yourself in that situation, then an NBC gas mask could be very useful. Now, reasons why governments might want to ban that or ban those things is they claim, that criminals use them, which I mean, criminals use lots of stuff, but I think really what it is, it's a balance of power issue. If they think that you deserve to get tear gas, then darn it, they want you to just suck it up and deal with it or, come outside and get arrested. And I mean, if they want to pop somebody, they don't really want anything getting in the way. Then some other items that present balance of power issues are thermal and night vision optics. Like with gas mask and body armor, they'll claim that criminals use them. They also don't want to put military grade equipment into civilians' hands. And then also on the lower end, you have poaching and stuff like that. But there's plenty of legitimate reasons to have thermal and night vision. First off, there is some legal hunting, at least in some places. Like I know where I live in Texas, you can use thermal and night vision to hunt things like hogs and coyotes and basically, just varmints at night. I mean, you can't use them for deer and legit game animals, but if you have a hog rooting around tearing up your land, then you can take those suckers out any time of day, and thermal and night vision can be very helpful. Then also there's security, especially if you have a larger piece of property where it'd be real easy for people to kind of duck down, hide, whatever, especially at night. Then those could be useful. Also, search and rescue uses, and even farming. Then after that, we have bulk ammunition. And a lot of the times when people talk about gun control and stuff like that, they talk about the actual guns themselves. But many times the government, if they can't ban a gun, then they will try to make buying ammunition, or at least buying it in large quantities, either illegal or very, very difficult. And the reason for that is that, I mean, if somebody still has the gun, but they don't have ammo for it, then the gun is nothing more than a big stinking paperweight. But if you're involved in shooting sports, any at all, there are plenty of reasons to have well over 1,000 rounds of ammunition for each gun. First off, if you practice regularly, it doesn't take all that long to go through 100 rounds of ammo, especially if you're shooting something like an AR or defensive handguns. And then also, I mean, a lot of us want to have an emergency stockpile in case there's another shortage or something really bad goes down that we can't buy anymore. But beyond just ammo, another big concern for some folks in government is reloading components. First off, you can reload a lot of ammo off of even just a few pounds of powder, especially if you're like just loading handgun or something like that. Then also, certain components can actually be used to load more than one caliber. So, for example, if I have 1,000 small pistol primers, then I can divide those up between, things like my 9mm, my 38 special, and also I can use, say, certain rifle powder for both my AR and one of my hunting rifles. So I'm not really just bound to, be able to load just one type of ammunition. But probably the biggest problem with reloading ammunition that some folks in government has is that it's not traceable. There's no lot numbers or anything like that. And then also, since it was hand loaded, it makes forensic ballistics a lot more difficult. But when it comes to guns themselves, a lot of folks in government have a big problem with larger caliber weapons. 50 BMG is probably the most obvious example of that, but you probably could consider stuff like 338 Lapua to be in that same category. And the big reason why they don't like them is that, first off, they are highly effective at longer distances, and also they can defeat body armor a lot easier than other types of weapons can. So you take level 4 ceramic plates, most of those are only rated up to like 30-06. 338 Lapua and 50 BMG are a lot bigger than that, so it kind of reduces the effectiveness of their defenses. Then another thing that the government may not like that you have is tannerite, especially if you get a whole bunch of it. Tannerite is just basically reactive or exploding rifle targets. I used one back in 2012 at my bachelor party to blow up a toilet. It was really stinking cool. I think I only needed either half a pound or a pound to do that, and there was just porcelain everywhere. It stripped the bark off of the tree that it was sitting in front of. But in addition to, being used for fun or also for long range shooting, because I mean, if you're 1,000 yards away, it's easier to tell if you hit your target if it blows up. But in addition to all the fun and legitimate uses, there are also nefarious and dangerous ways that it could be used. So that's why some folks in the government may not like people having it. Then after that, we have tripwires, and those can be very useful security items, but the ones that are most likely to get banned are the ones that either use like ammunition primers or shotgun shells. And the deal with the shotgun shell tripwires is you have to remember that any type of booby trap is illegal because there's no way for you to determine once it's set whether or not it is going to be triggered by an actual dangerous threat or some kid who wandered onto your property. So if you're going to use those kinds of tripwires, you do have to keep that in mind. Then after that, we have different kinds of traps and fishing gear, and a lot of this is just going to be dependent on where you live. Like some traps, if you're hunting, especially like fur-bearing animals, there's always going to be regulations to go along with that. And then some types of traps are actually banned. An example of that with fishing equipment, where I live here in Texas, would be yo-yos. And kind of like the name suggests, the line drops down into the water. When a fish bites on it, it triggers a mechanism and boom, pulls it out of the water. And why they don't want those being used, I think here in Texas, is just, people, they set them, don't check them, and then, there's a skeleton hanging on the line. It's a waste of game meat. But a lot of the reasons why they ban other types of traps, I mean, and it's kind of the same with the yo-yos, is mainly to prevent animal suffering. Then next up we have drones, and these are becoming a much bigger deal, even within just the past couple years. Of course, with drones, there's a lot of different ways to use them. You can use them for recreation. Like my son, he got a tiny little, just cheapy drone for Christmas that we can fly around, has a camera on it, so that's kind of cool. Then there's also fishing drones that can carry up to a pound of, say, bait, and then drop it off. And there's also plenty of legitimate business reasons to have a drone. Like my wife does photography. If she ever wanted to get involved in real estate photography, that would be very useful. Also, there have been times where, especially if I'm doing a video for my Reloaded channel, then having a drone could have come up with some pretty stinking cool shots. And then also for us preppers, then we can use them for intel gathering and stuff like that. But as we've all seen in places like Ukraine and then even Iran right now, there are ways that you can reconfigure drones and use them for more harmful purposes. And because of that, we are starting to see those become a lot more regulated than they used to be. But then beyond just those individual items, the government also doesn't really want you to have anything that separates you or makes you too independent from the system. So some common examples of that would be, large-scale fuel storage on your own land. They'll say things like, it's to prevent fires and stuff like that, which, that can be a legitimate concern, but also if you have a bunch of fuel on your property, then it's going to be harder to control you through things like fuel rationing and stuff like that. Then also high volume water treatment systems, and other things like antibiotics and large quantities of surgical equipment. So all this being said, I think if you're going to be making some more sensitive purchases, it would be a good idea to do things like buy local whenever possible. I know there are some of these things that finding it locally can be a challenge. Like finding a decent high quality gas mask in where I live, it wouldn't be the easiest thing in the world. So I'm usually going to order something like that online. Also, if you are buying it locally, use cash, and probably the most important thing is just don't talk about it. It's going to be a lot easier to find somebody if they're flapping their gums than going through, millions and millions of purchase records trying to figure out who bought what. But probably the biggest issue is when there is a pattern to it, especially in multiple purchases of sensitive items within a short amount of time. That would probably be more likely to trigger things. Now, I did touch on this a little bit earlier, but one area where the government can get a little bit touchy is defense. So if you want to see a list of alternative defensive tools that aren't guns, then click here. Or if you want to see the preps that are most likely to get confiscated, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.